I'm Lanny. Just wanted to, I guess it was Jerry called me, or Andrew Yanez got me involved, asked me about this. I was like, what do I do and what's it about? And he told me the theme was spicy. So I was like, is it just because of my Mexican heritage, how I like food? Is it my irreverent, spicy attitude, or any way that I conduct myself, I guess, could be spicy. So I just wanted to, I guess, start with the cliche reading what spicy is, which isn't from the traditional Webster's. I found it on Pfizer's website, of all places, but it says capsaicin, which causes spice, is released as a fine spray when you bite into foods that contain it. Triggers heat receptors in the skin, tricking the nervous system into thinking you're overheating. In response, your brain cranks up all your body's cooling mechanisms. In short, you don't taste spicy food, you feel it. So I think that's kind of how I view at least the food medium is. It's not just about the food and the flavors, it's the experience of the whole, that touches all the sensories with food. And a lot of the inputs that come out in the creative medium, which I don't really cook professionally anymore on the line like I used to. I guess you'll find out later it's more about life and experience and how I use creativity now. But when it was, my main focus and my main medium was food, it kind of comes through, and the pictures I chose will kind of show you the, I guess, life experiences and the inputs that I've had in my life that have come out through the medium of food or problem solving or any kind of, anything that I do that sparks creativity. And I guess so it might look like just my family album, but I think it's all kind of relevant. And and that's what Jerry told me. Whoops, I don't need my pocket knife. I hope, to just kind of tell my story. So here we go. And I guess to start with this, like, my professional life has always kind of worked sidestep of what's going on in my personal life. And I've made changes and shifts and all sorts of things, but it all kind of runs parallel with what I have going on. So this stage of life is the beginning for me and what I was born into. And I like to always say that I didn't choose the restaurant industry, it chose me. I was born into it. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather were Joe T. and his wife Jessie Garcia that opened this restaurant in 1935. And so I'm a fourth-generation restaurateur, Fort Worthian. So we've been in the restaurant business in this town for a long time. And this is my baptism that was in the back party room, which we used to call the hut. The reception, which you guys might notice is the pool. The fountain out there used to be our family pool where I learned how to swim. It was built for my dad's generation. Always liked food. That was in the alley. My mom and dad here working as well. And that is just kind of more about how I really started to get involved in food. My great-grandmother had a prep kitchen in which back now is the offices. And me and my sisters had beds on the floor in their prep kitchen. So if we wanted to see my parents who were here at work, we were back there with my great-grandmother while she was taking care of us, and we'd sleep on the floor while she made all the sauces. So it's me and my sisters, party rooms in the alleyway, and also at that time too, my dad has really introduced me to interior Mexico from an early age. He would take me down to trips, and we would start in Puerto Vallarta, drive into the mountains. We would do a lot of fun things that really sparked my interest in Mexican culture, cuisine, really starting from a pretty young age. And then I was also, just it's also taught me kind of the work ethic and the restaurant side of things on how to use creativity. And then also as a kid, I was just telling Jerry, I think I played competitive soccer growing up, and I feel like I always pull a term, if anyone's ever played soccer, called switching fields. And if you're getting bogged down on one side of the field where all the players are, you want to switch to the other side to open things up. And I've always that's always kind of stuck with me from a creative side, because if I get in a creative rut or I can't think of what to go on next, I always think about switching fields. And I'm really focused on one thing when I really should be opening up and looking at it from a different way. So that's something I always really still always go to, is switching fields in my head. Like, all right, get out of this rut, go this way and try something else. So this next stage is the stage of, I don't know. Whoops, did I hit play? Oh, nice. I'm not gonna. So this stage of life, I guess, would be kind of learning and questioning, more about kids and being here and being a clown. That was always, I never really fit the mold of going in the same direction. This is also the pool. This is family growing up, and when I started to really travel with my dad down to Mexico, I went to TCU. I actually went to TCU to play soccer, but ended up not playing because other stuff was more fun in college than sports. So I started, as I got a little further into TCU, I started to really explore Mexican cuisine, knowing what I knew here as Tex-Mex was fine. And my grandmother was kind of blasphemous that I would say this wasn't Mexican food, and she should be proud of it because it's Tex-Mex, and it was a different regional cuisine in itself, but it wasn't quite regional interior Mexican cuisine that I knew and I'd seen. So I was talking to Josie about this. I started to get really, just really inquisitive about what Mexican cuisine was. So there was a lady out of Washington State named named Marilyn Townsend, and she had a company called Culinary Adventures. And this was pre-internet in the mid-90s, and I don't know how I got this information, but I ended up going to Mexico for 2-3 weeks at a time and spending time with ladies like Diana Kennedy, Patricia Quintana. I met Rick Bayless down there, and a lot of local chefs that just kind of allowed me in their kitchen to just play around. And so I spent a lot of time, well, first in college to get me, before that, I did a study abroad program and lived in Cholula, Mexico for about 9 months. And that was really eye-opening as to street food and really being a native down there. It was, it was really sparked my interest before I started getting into finding things like Diana and what I was going to do in the food world, which at this point I had no idea I was going to be a chef. I just was really interested in the food, the culture, the cuisine, and the people, and very interested in everything Mexican culture and history and anthropology and the Mesoamerican times has really fascinated me. But one of my last trips, I was with Rick Bayless, and we were at a restaurant in Guadalajara, and I was like, look, I think I want to do this. I want to be a chef. I want to be like, do what you're doing. He's like, great, come work for me or go to culinary school. It's like some people, you could do it either way, is learn on your own. I mean, get in the trade and just pick it up and do it. That's a valid way to do it, or take a shortcut if you can and go to culinary school and then still come work for me. So I did that. I went to culinary school. I still ended up going to work for Rick and spent a little time in Chicago. And then after culinary school, I ended up back here in Fort Worth. My dad kind of enticed me. I was driving from New York to Chicago to my new job back at Rick's Restaurants at Frontera in Topolobampo. But my dad talked me into coming home and building a kitchen here to do what would be, this is still culinary school stuff, and going places in Mexico that are unexplored, and then starting to get into what I was about to talk about is the kitchen at Joe T's. And that was where I got my start here professionally. I had a small room off the back of the patio, and it was a pop-up restaurant, but back then in 2002, that term wasn't around yet. So I was just having fun and just exploring anything I could with food. And we didn't have a menu. It was much like Joe T's. You had two options, much like Joe T's. We had 5-course tasting menu or 7-course, and that was all you could get. And it was a wine pairing or not. And it was no marketing or exposure. It was just word of mouth, very small, really a cool thing. But it ended up getting some notoriety from media and press, and kind of got fire lit before I really think I was ready, because we started to get busy every single night, and I ended up having to make the jump to where I was on to next. And so this was, when I was over there, this was 2003, I believe. We have a huge greenhouse. I grew everything from seed one season, and we were cutting, salad greens and herbs to order. We grew a lot of our own product, because back then farm to table was difficult to, and I just left working for Rick in Chicago, who farmers were showing up from Indiana, Illinois, daily with our deliveries. And I got here and just assumed or forgot, like, oh yeah, this is great. I'll just use some local farmers. Well, they weren't easy to find back then. So nor is the growing season conducive to what we needed. So I grew a lot of things, and really just self-educating. I was just dove in, let creativity flow free. Didn't have really a singular focus. It was just all over the place, and much of my life and where I ended up next, which was Alta Cocina, Lanny's Alta Cocina Mexicana. And that was kind of during these, we made the jump from the pop-up to, I had a fine dining restaurant where Righteous is now in the same building called Lanny's Alta Cocina Mexicana. And we did high-end regional Mexican cuisine with Mediterranean influence and more of a refined look. So I changed my focus to not necessarily regional cuisine because Rick and other people have done that. I wanted to create something my own and through my experience, which was interior Mexico, but formal training. And now it's being done. I was probably 20 years too early, but now at that time in 2005, we were very much pushing the envelope as to what we were doing. We got this at the James Beard House. We got invited to cook at the James Beard House Foundation. My parents there, more on this later, but I met my wife at Alta Cocina. She actually was a server there when we first opened. And then that was my grandmother who still didn't approve of any of this. And on her birthday, she just had me make a huge flan with pineapple and maraschino cherries. So, so I was fighting a lot of things at that time. But I had I don't know. This was all Alta Cocina days, and we had a lot of really a lot of meat. We turned a lot of heads in the food world about what we were doing. We had a lot of chefs from all over come to see what we were doing, and it was an interesting take on Mexican cuisine that, in my opinion, wasn't being done yet. So we, it was quite fun making my mark with this, and it was all I could say. It was full gas, no brakes, all the time. The chef life was what I did, and that was. And I'm not necessarily. Didn't necessarily know if I was liking what I was doing because I got into this. I ran the front of the house here to kind of be out of the limelight, but thanks to the Food Network, when I got out of culinary school, they wanted us out of the kitchen and into the dining room. So this was it. This was our logo. This was taken from a Zapotec ruin in Monte Alban in Oaxaca, and is the deity they called Ozomatli. And at that period of my life, his caricature spoke to me because I read in the Anthropology Museum, that Ozomatli led a lifestyle of debauchery and an undisciplined lifestyle of debauchery, and that was me. So then, I guess the next stage after that would have been refinement and discipline. And I think after getting through the first years of really just getting thrown into the fire with a bunch of place I hadn't really been before, running my own business, which I was really more focused on the food and not really focused on any of that. My passion was getting spilled out on the plate. So I went through this. These are all dishes that we worked up, and we did a lot of molecular things. We did we changed our menu often. So this is kind of where it culminated into. I feel like it was more of a mastering my trade, or at least getting more experience and being able to display what I was doing. But I think at that time I was also growing a little bit disenchanted with the chef persona that I was talking about, and I didn't really want to be. I mean, it's hard for me to even do this. I'm an introvert at heart, and I'm more into focus and taking my work seriously, but not myself. And this is. I didn't really like the other hat that I had to wear with the chef lifestyle, among other things of what I was kind of expected of me. So after that, or during this kind of a refinement stage of Alta Cocina, this is kind of the personal picture stuff. My wife and I got married. We just spent a lot of time traveling. This is heli skiing in British Columbia. This is in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco and Berber villages and Barcelona and Colorado, all over. Anyways, just really doing a different kind of exploring, enjoying more life and the thrills of life and what that meant. The Alta Cocina I had a good staff and still do. Some of them are still with me, and I was able to go explore some different things in life to feed a different kind of fire in me. So that was when we got married. We started to plan a family or talk about having a family, and having grown up in a family restaurant business, I wasn't really keen on the idea of still being in fine dining, in particular with my name on the door and being expected to be there every weekend and night. I wanted to cook every night, but for my family. So I started to think, what am I doing in my life creatively? And that led to the rejuvenation phase, I guess. I changed after all those experiences of really taking care of myself, my health, and making better decisions on food, exercise, all the above. I started to concept Righteous Foods in probably 2011 and 12, and then came back and closed my fine dining doors kind of on a whim and opened back up as Righteous Foods, where we do all-day cafe. I don't know, I shouldn't have to read anything about that. We do food. We have our own boutique coffee roaster. Still concentrate on high-quality ingredients and food, but just do it in a very different way. And this was more of a shift of focus on having more community aspect. Fine dining also lends to you only see your customers every birthday, anniversary, or holiday. When place like Righteous, you can come every day. So that is that place. And then this was the adaptation part of everything that I've learned. I started planning ghost kitchens in 18 after Righteous. If you can't tell, I can't really sit still as to where I want to go next. But this, in March of 20 happened, I'd already planned a concept called Eat Fajitas. And it was a ghost kitchen that was really using my experience. So, okay, I want to provide an upscale experience to people at home that aren't going to just pull out a styrofoam bag and plastic, or styrofoam clamshell and plastic bag, and provide a restaurant quality experience at home via some of the ways that we served it. And also in sidestep with that is I started to have children, and I had small kids, and I was ordering food a lot at home because it was really busy times that I wasn't prepared for. So I opened Phantasma Kitchens. Well, I opened Eat Fajitas first in March of 20. We launched that, and which, by the way, the creative branding is all Andrew Yanez's brainchild. We have always worked together. I really respect what Andrew does, and I always feel like we have a great repertoire in building stuff, and he's always done a great job with helping me create all this stuff. And by Andrew already knowing all this stuff, and then him putting his skill to work on putting stuff like this together. So we did Pizza Zapata, which was a nod to Emiliano Zapata, Eat Fajitas, and then Pollo Tocayo. And that was pretty short-lived. We bought some real estate over here on the north side, which probably wasn't the ideal location for delivery, but we were only open for 6 months. So we sold that. I figured all that. Now, what do I do next? And I think that's kind of leads to where I'm at right now, which is I'm an older dad, and from everybody I've said, this time flies, and I'm trying to soak this in while I decide on what I'm going to do next. I coach Lanny Paul's baseball team. I coach Lorelei softball team, and they play a lot of sports. They're getting into all the things that Raven and I love, the mountains and skiing and surfing and just having fun. And that's, I do draw inspiration from them. I mean, we developed a kids menu at Righteous Food because I know there's it's different stages of my life. Like, restaurants should have this. And well, before kids, I'm like, kids shouldn't be in restaurants. Now I'm like, we need high chairs everywhere and sippy cups and all the things. So that's kind of where I'm at with all my experience, and kind of to end all that is anything that I create. And now what I do now is, I do consulting for small businesses, restaurants. I've worked on hotel projects in Mexico with larger hotel groups, just doing the menu creation and programming their operations, and just helping folks do refinement. So I help a lot of folks with the consulting experience level right now, and problem solving. I've forgot to mention I really dove into accounting for some reason because I didn't understand it, and I really wanted, after being so focused on the food, I wanted to know everything about my business. So I have a lot more experience now in our industry that I could lend to folks to help them out until they grow up and I get bored and do something else crazy. But that's it, I guess.